Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your Sun in Aries and Virgo rising. Oh, that's a very interesting combination because we're talking about fire and earth. The rising sign can give people an idea of your personality, but it's not necessarily who you really are in this lifetime. It's kind of, in this particular case, it could be false advertising, even because Aries and Virgo are very, very different. They're so different that they form an inconjunction, which means that they are 150 degrees apart from one another. This is considered a very awkward angle. And what this can mean is that there's nothing that these two signs have in common that makes them at all consistent. So there's like a disjointed quality. I have something similar in having my sun in Sagittarius and Taurus rising, meaning that I have the sun in fire and earth as my rising sign, and also an in conjunction. So I understand how that can play out. And of course, it'll be different. The themes will be different, but there will be some similarities. One thing that we can say is that fire energy is very flamboyant. It's very extroverted, show offy, colorful. And earth is very practical, very restrained, very, like subdued and um, quiet, even shy. The fire element is masculine and the earth is feminine. It has nothing to do, by the way, with, male and females, how they look um, per se. It's all about the energy behind it. So the earth and water signs are more to themselves because the feminine is inward and the masculine expresses energy outwards. So this is an interesting combination because Aries is a very overpowering sign, and it's, it would be interesting to know what the person's moon sign is because that could certainly tip the balance. But just if we, forget about those inner planets too, because if somebody has Aries as their Mars sign, that could certainly make them a very loud and and bossy and very kind of like confident strutting around. Because typically, what will happen is that this person is going to express themselves in a very cautious way, in a very self conscious way. Virgo is the sign of the perfectionist. So, this person, especially when they're younger, when I think that the rising sign is more influential, through the 20s, this person may exhibit insecurity in one way or the other. And we have to look to the family of origin to see how they may have been raised, the kind of treatment they were given. This kind of person may feel like they're not good enough, and it inhibits their ability to kind of be more like their sun sign, which all fire signs are, uh, believe, I was going to say believe in, but actually behave in ways that show their creative self expression. So it's not uncommon to find people with prominent fire in entertainment fields because they just are natural hams. They just love to perform and things like that. Earth energy is very, like I said, practical. So you tend to find them doing things where they are improving other people's lives, especially Virgo, because Virgo rules the sixth house, which has to do with health. So you will find people in the healthcare field. And if you think about that, there's often like a precision that we associate with earth energy, that is very, like Virgo pays attention to details, for instance. So this combination can produce somebody who is very fastidious. Well, I'm just talking about the rising sign. Maybe very disciplined, and they are people who really give themselves a hard time. I think that's the best way of putting it. And if they have any kind of creative impulses, especially when it comes to expressing themselves, I'm talking about specifically the performer, because Virgo, as the cusp of the first house, would deal with the body and how the person behaves towards others. So um, that could be inhibited with Virgo there, and maybe they want to be more like their Aries sign and they feel that they can't be. So the way the person may look is kind of interesting. I always think of Virgo as a sign that looks like maybe, well, it is considered the Virgin. So there's always like this chaste look about Virgo people. I'm not talking about how they are behind closed doors, because they can be very earthy, even if they are looking very chaste. And chaste meaning pure. Um, the women wearing clothing that is not necessarily revealing, being more modest in their appearance. Doesn't mean they can't be sexy though, but they have like a fresh scrubbed look. They may avoid makeup or very heavy makeup, going au natural, being more interested in looking natural than being heavily made up or wearing sparkly outfits or something that draws attention to themselves. They're really not interested in drawing attention to themselves. And the men, like I think of someone like Keanu Reeves, and I think he is a Virgo, and he's one of these guys. I mean, he's probably, well, in his 50s, and he looks like he's still, someone from Generation X. Well, he is from Generation X, but I mean back in his heyday, or when he was, a lot younger, because they have that youthful look. And I think the reason why is that you're ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the planet that rules Gemini and Virgo, and so both. I know Gemini rising tends to look very youthful, so I would imagine that's true of Virgo too. And yeah, like Raquel Welch, she's, I don't know how old she is, but she certainly looks young. Sophia Loren, these are uh, women who are elderly women, but they're still considered sex symbols well into their 70s and 80s because of their youthful appearance. Now, have they had work done? Probably. And but they still, manage to look good. They take care of themselves. You may be somebody who's a health nut, and you are very hard on yourself about appearance. So that brings me to another point. Is there a danger of that person becoming, I wouldn't say obsessed with their appearance, but feeling that maybe having body dysmorphia and being, whatchamacallit, like distorted about their appearance and seeking perfection. We know somebody like Michael Jackson was a Virgo. Now he had the sun in Virgo. I believe Michael Jackson had Pisces rising. I need to do his chart one of these days. And the moon in Pisces too, I believe. Now, that would certainly indicate a distortion through Neptune, but Virgo for sure, being hard on yourself, expecting perfection. Well, this is on the ascendant and this is appearance. And because Aries wants to be number one, that can exacerbate that issue where the Aries person might compare themselves to others. I will say this is not the most confident Aries. It's important to factor in other aspects that may aspect the ascendant because that might strengthen it. If your moon sign is in, let's say your moon sign is in Scorpio, that would form a sextile. I mean, within certain degree span, obviously, with the ascendant, and that might help you be more confident and less caring what other people think or being hard on yourself. There might be some things that make it even worse. Like if your moon is in Libra, you might have a tendency to really feel like you have to um, be beautiful in order to attract love, and you might try to go the plastic surgery route or just be overly concerned about how you look in general. So, I'm trying to think of anything else I want to say about the rising sign, in particular. But in general, you might be more. I was going to say shy because like I said, I have fire, sun, and Earth rising, and also Moon and Earth, and Virgo too, and I'm kind of shy. I mean, it's not really shy. I'm not shy. I'm just reserved in public. I'm definitely not fiery. I'm more fiery here alone in my bedroom recording this than I ever am in public. And I'm sure some of you who have this combination know what I'm talking about. And there is a factor of inhibition for sure. I think that once you get past your need for perfectionism, that will go away. Actually, the word that I would use is self-consciousness. And I think that, this diagnosis in recent years of social anxiety is really speaking on that aspect of people that is self consciousness. And it's something that can be debilitating if it is taken to the extreme. So, social anxiety, if people are overly concerned with how others are perceiving them in public, they can sometimes not want to do things where they have to mingle with other people, and they might isolate themselves because of that. And that can lead to other things that, create a life for themselves that's very limited and not happy. So I don't necessarily think that a lot of you are like that to that extreme because the Aries fire energy is going to dominate in certain areas of your life regardless. And on top of that, it's just one, your rising sign is just one influence. Your Mars can be very influential. You might have Mars in Gemini and you're very loquacious, you're very talkative, you're very social. You might have, other Aquarius Mars, same thing. We're just very involved with other people. You love to be in group situations and deal with people uh, in large numbers, and it doesn't intimidate you, it actually stimulates you. But certainly, when you're younger, you can feel that sense of self consciousness creep in, and it can make it hard for you to make the first move if you want to ask somebody out on a date or even like a friendship situation. And um, and yet, by the same token, you may be seen as very intelligent. You might be a bookworm, so you might be somebody who loves to read, and you may be so if you're regarded as intelligent, it might be easy for you to get jobs because you go in and that's the first thing they see. They see somebody that is competent. Now, if you do feel incompetent, then that's unfortunate because you're very competent and you just have to believe in yourself more. But here's the thing where it can get tricky. Because of the nature of Aries and its competitive nature, in other words, um, the insecurity that you may feel can lead to an imbalance with the Aries tendencies of, typically feeling courageous, confident, and it can lead you to overemphasize the Aries energy in its more challenging form, which can be arrogance or pushiness, and in even, like competitiveness. And this can create a problem with a person who is overcompensating for their insecurities by acting really tough. Oh, yeah, and being tough like a bully. And that can, um, it's like overriding your natural tendency to be very humble, which is how I see Virgo rising with arrogance, like a false bravado. And even though the rising sign is more of that image, because Aries is so overpowering, it might be something that you're able to pull off. And that would be unfortunate because it would be the more obnoxious qualities of Aries, not the good ones. So, really examine how you interact with other people and see if you are trying to mask feelings of insecurity by being overly pushy and like aggressive and things like that. In terms of the characteristics of Aries as a sun sign, when Aries is balanced, it's very courageous, confident, a natural leader, okay, ambitious, and a doer. Aries is a cardinal sign. Virgo is a mutable sign, which means that it's very good at being able to shapeshift into different environments. And I think fire signs are very intelligent as well. Sometimes people don't really grasp that because fire signs, especially Aries is very physical. So Aries can be very athletic, and a person can get this wrong impression of Aries that, the jock kind of image that is not so much, it's like, brawn instead of brains kind of thing. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Aries people can be very intelligent, and it's just that their intelligence is it's almost like a physical intelligence. I don't know how to describe it. Like there's like a physicality to it. But it's always very creative, bold. There's a bold quality with Aries, like an in your face quality. Now, that doesn't mean that all Aries people behave like this. This is actually likely going to mute that tendency. And that will be for the better because you might be more thoughtful of other people. Virgos are very um, aware of other people. They believe in politeness. Aries is like the bull in the china closet, really. I mean, it kind of bumbles its way, not, well, blusters its way through life, and it can really irritate people by being, pushy that way. But it's not that Aries is really like that. Aries is generous to a fault and is very, even if Aries has a bad temper, well, I don't want to minimize bad tempers because that can be quite destructive, but I'm talking about the person who is just like very easily triggered. Um, they don't hold grudges. They tend to be very generous. They live in the moment. There's a spontaneity, a childlike quality with Aries. But I think one of the main things I would say about Aries is that it's very vital. There's an energy that just oozes off of Aries that I find really energizing to be around. So this combination is ripe for somebody who is a hard worker and ambitious, and that will likely guarantee your success. The thing is how you define success, because Aries might be so ambitious that when they get to the so-called top of whatever it is that they're looking for more challenges. And so learning how to be satisfied is an important way of being happy in life. Sometimes I get the feeling that Aries people are never, truly peaceful because there's life to them is always this war. Aries is the is ruled by Mars, the god of war. So Aries people might always have this drama in their life in one way, shape, or form. With this combination, they may be able to curtail that because the Virgo energy is very efficient and practical and doesn't want to expend maybe their energy on fruitless things such as silly petty dramas. So that might be a saving grace. In terms of professions, I think that teaching is always going to be when somebody is ruled by Mercury, they're always going to favor any kind of intellectual professions. Mercury related professions are teaching as well as the media, anything where you're disseminating information. With when it comes to, but education, I feel like with fire signs, that is a top um, choice because, first of all, Aries is a natural leader, so I could see Aries climbing the ranks in a school and maybe even becoming the principal one day because in the tarot, Aries is connected to, well, actually, Aries is connected to the Magician and the Major Arcana, but also another card is the Emperor. And I always, when I look at the Emperor, he seems more like Capricorn, another cardinal sign, but more kind of like very deliberate and the Magician, that makes sense with Aries for me. But anyway, the idea of the Emperor is about law and order, about black and white, this is right, that is wrong, and the professions associated with it are the military and law enforcement. And these two professions have Aries written all over it. Okay, so, but I don't think that Aries is necessarily black and white because fire signs are very expansive. So they tend to be progressive, liberal, and liberality means that we don't see, uh, that we can see different sides of an issue and people think automatically of political affiliation, but I'm not using it in that sense of the word. I'm just talking about this tolerance for people to, fall into different areas and you still accept them and you understand what goes behind it. So, um, I really wouldn't see that rigidity necessarily with Aries. However, definitely that authoritarian quality might crop up because of that tendency to be with that cardinal energy, wanting to be the head honcho. Now, can this combination work for somebody else? Usually, I would say for Aries that it's very hard for them to take orders. But I think that this might be one of those combinations where they can work for somebody else because Virgo is very obedient. As a matter of fact, Virgo can be the servant, is, associated with the servant. I said this when I was talking about something with Virgo a while back, and I got these angry responses from Virgos who apparently think that being a servant is something that is an insult, and that's a shame that people think that. A servant, and when you say a servant, these days, it doesn't have to be like a butler or something like that. It can be somebody who is, like a housekeeper, but also who is like a house manager, if you will. And, it's not like a slave or somebody who is owned by their employer, but somebody who dedicates their life to making their employer's life smoothly run is what I really mean. And there's a humility in Virgo that wants to serve. And it's interesting that Virgo's opposite sign is Pisces because they share similar traits in that respect. Almost that self sacrificial element. But another place where you may shine is in the field of perhaps anything to do with motivation, because Aries is a natural coach. So, definitely a coach of athletics, but a coach like a life coach, because the Virgo can be good for how do you improve your life on a practical level. And the Aries energy is very much about encouragement. You can do this, you've got this. So I could see that as well. You may gravitate towards even literary professions if your midheaven is in Gemini, which it should be in. Um, you may be in education, media, but even writing. Can it be creative writing? Sure, but it might be even more either historical fiction, something that has facts associated with it, or maybe even autobiographical, that it really kind of barely disguises your real experiences. But how to do something, how to improve, this is the strength of Virgo, always knowing how to do something more efficiently, better, and having that practical knowledge that you have amassed. So I think that this combination can get hired very easily because they're going to come across as both energetic as well as sensible, having common sense. Okay, that's what. Oh, you know what? I have to talk about relationships. This combination, um, I think it's very interesting that in the tarot, the Hermit card is connected to Virgo. It could be because that chaste quality might be the hermit who is celibate and lives by himself in contemplation or something like that. Or the nun, who is celibate. But I think that Virgo, I don't think Virgo is necessarily a loner type of a sign. I don't think of it that way. I think that Virgo people, just like everyone else, want to have relationships. But it's possible that Virgo has the ability to wait for the right person because there's always that discriminatory equality. I think that's the right word. Discrimination, we think of like bigotry or something like that, racism, bigotry. But discrimination means discernment. It means that you're able to see if something is right for you. If you have a discriminating kind of taste, you're not somebody who just accepts everything. So that could apply to relationships as well. Aries to me is a very lustful in how it approaches life, because Mars can be the sex drive, and that's the ruler of Aries. So this can be, strangely enough, a combination that does lend itself to people getting involved in relationships based on being attracted to somebody, because you got that earthy ascendant. So it's very important that the person is using that Virgo ability to discern if somebody is right for them, and also that chaste quality to kind of fend off any kind of urges to get involved with somebody for the wrong reasons, because it could end I'm going to say in a very disastrous way. That might be an exaggeration, but certainly not what you would want. Okay, so what else was I going to say? Um, you might attract somebody who is like an earth sign or a water sign based on your mannerisms, your outward behavior, or your first impression that you're making. But you're probably, and that's, I say probably because that's not going to be true 100% of the time, going to be more at home with somebody who is a fire sign or an air sign. And this is because they're going to be more spontaneous, less planned, and more like that type of freewheeling Aries energy that just likes to have fun. What can happen with Aries people is they might, with this combination, you might attract somebody like a Cancer. And I'm saying that specifically because Cancer forms a square with Aries, which can be an irritating attraction. And same with Capricorn, that's another one. And these two signs can help you in the sense that they might be very disciplined and or organized themselves and very connected to uh, practical matters, but they may treat you like you're immature, like you are irresponsible. And luckily, Virgo rising can keep you more in line in that particular way. But let's say you have a fire moon sign, that can, make you more like that impulsive, spontaneous type of person. And it's only very superficially do you appear to be, you know, that together in a sense. So it's very interesting. But yeah, I think that this can be a good combination for somebody who's lively, but also very, concerned with their partner and respectful of their partner as well. All right, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.